Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and my oh my, is there a lot of pushback on one little game not being a part of the Game Awards nominees. That is, of course, Starfield. I am honestly really shocked at how people have created so much vitriol over the fact that Starfield didn't get nominated for Game of the Year or any awards. I really do believe it's a vocal minority with these things. I can't believe that it's an abundance of people that are upset about Starfield, missing out on a Game Awards nominee. I just think a big thing escalating or, elevating the vitriol, especially the loudness of it, is the fact that it was the major Xbox release this year. The Xbox, I guess, first-party release this year was Starfield, and the fact that that's missing out from nominees. The only first-party Xbox title. Actually, you have Hi-Fi Rush being nominated, and you do have Forza nominated. So there were a couple titles that were actually nominated. But, of course, for Game of the Year, Starfield was not nominated. And I think rightfully so, and I talked higher, I should say, not highly about Starfield, higher than a lot of other people. I had some fun with it, but, let's be real. We break down the Game of the Year lineup, and I'll break it all down for you guys. Starfield shouldn't have been on there, man. You look at those games, and there's some games on the Game of the Year lineup that I personally speaking, I did not enjoy, but when you, strip away my personal enjoyment of the game, you can get a certain objective assessment, and I feel like a lot of people fail to do this, and especially when we have, platform wars and things like that. We can't strip away our own, subjective opinion and look at the lens that some of these games may not be our cup of tea, but you can still comprehend why people enjoyed them so much. So let's break down Game of the Year. Obviously, let's stop talking about Starfield for a second, but Game of the Year, the nominees were Alan Wake 2, which, by the way, as shocking as this might sound to you guys, Alan Wake 2 was personally a game that I did not get into as much as the review scores, and given my hype level, my anticipation level towards that game, that is kind of shocking. When we get to the next game, it was a game that I wasn't personally super excited for anyway, but Alan Wake 2 was a game that I was legitimately stoked for. But I did not enjoy it as much as a lot of other people. There are some things with the level design that I thought were not great, but at the same time, that game, anybody that plays it, I think, can acquiesce to the fact and concede the fact. Incredible visuals, incredible atmosphere, incredible sound design. The gameplay itself is fairly good. Voice acting, excellent. There are so many remarkable elements to Alan Wake 2. It just didn't click with me as much as I thought it was going to. And even then, I can see why people love it so much. It's very easy to see why people love it so much. The next game, Baldur's Gate 3, same thing for me. It's not my cup of tea. I didn't enjoy it that much. I gave it a chance, and I want to give it another chance at some point. It's just busy with other titles right now, but it's a game that didn't really grip me. I thought it was a little bit too slow for my liking. I'm more of an action RPG guy, or even, I get into turn-based RPGs, but Baldur's Gate 3 just wasn't one for me. Maybe you could call me simple-minded, and that game just had too much depth. If you want to go that route, go for it. But even playing that game, I can understand why people loved it, and, and I personally got more enjoyment out of Starfield than Baldur's Gate 3, but I definitely, from an objective standpoint, Baldur's Gate 3 did what it did way better than what Starfield did, what Starfield wanted to do. That's what I'm saying, even though the style of game that Starfield is just gonna appeal to me more than a Baldur's Gate 3, but, yeah, a game that I do want to play at some point. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not a big Nintendo guy these days, but I know people love these games, so, more power to them. Marvel Spider-Man 2, again, no-brainer there. You guys on PC can wait a couple years and you'll be able to play that, but yeah, Spider-Man 2 seems to be a pretty easy answer there as well. Resident Evil 4 Remake, that's one of my personal top contenders for Game of the Year. I thought that remake was phenomenal. Yeah, so definitely that's one that I would keep on there, and Resident Evil 4 already was one of the most iconic games of all time, so it's it getting a remake as good as it did of the level of RE2, I mean, that game was just tremendous. And then Super Mario Bros. Wonder, again, another Nintendo title. Not a big Nintendo guy these days, but, I've heard rave reviews about that game, so I can understand why that's there as well. Some of my personal Game of the Year nominees that I would throw in there, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, as atrocious as that PC port was, I loved that game. I thought Jedi Survivor was a fantastic game, great story. A lot of content, gameplay was great, and just really enjoyed my time with that. Final Fantasy 16, of course, I think is up there with the best games of the year. Did it have some issues? Sure. From a performance standpoint, left something to be desired on PS5. Had some issues with its side content and whatnot, but as far as the side content not having a lot of depth, and some of the points of the game a little bit drawn out and kind of tedious, but overall, I thought that game was great. Street Fighter 6, I think, should be up there. Like, Street Fighter 6 was awesome, and that's coming from somebody that's not a big fan of fighting games. I thought Street Fighter 6 was great, and that's really off the top of my head, like, what I would consider. I'm sure there are a couple of other titles. Hi-Fi Rush, even. Hi-Fi Rush is a game that I really dug early this year. It's not nominated for Game of the Year, and maybe nominating it for Game of the Year would be a little bit too much, but I thought that game was really, really solid. So, those are my opinions on some of the games that I enjoyed the most this year. But Starfield not being in the lineup, like, guys, Starfield had a lot of issues. It's a game that you can jump into and sink a lot of time into and, have some fun. But I think ultimately the issue with Starfield is that the idea of all of these planets and having so much content in terms of, oh, you can go here, you can go there, you could explore this, you could explore that. It's one of my main issues in gaming as a whole, where I feel like these games are just getting too big for their bridges, meaning they're just getting bigger and bigger, expanding and expanding, and at some point, the reality is going to be that the content gets diluted, and I feel like with Starfield, the content got incredibly diluted. Not even like a little diluted, no, incredibly diluted. I really hope for Bethesda in the future, they scale back. I feel like, and that goes for a lot of developers, and I know that I've been parroting this opinion for so long, but games have gotten so big and so ambitious that they get a little bit too big for their own bridges. They try to do something that I feel like is incredibly ambitious, and sure, some studios can pull it off and do a really good job, but I don't think it's the end of the world if you scale some of these games back, have more tempered expectations. I think it would have done a lot of good for Bethesda to have a more limited amount of planets to explore in Starfield, but those planets are a lot more fleshed out. They don't need to be, this overabundance of exploration, and I really hope for Bethesda going forward and in the future, they do scale back a little bit. I think that's something in game development in general that it would do wonders to scale back a little bit, these development times, especially from a Bethesda standpoint, where these games are incredibly ambitious and it takes 8, 9, 10 years to finish up development. I mean, Starfield was announced in 2018, I believe, but it started development way, way, way before that. So you're talking, a decade of development time. 8 years in between main Bethesda single-player games and Fallout 4 and Starfield, and what is to show from that? What is to show from Bethesda taking all of this time to create these games, creating these incredibly ambitious titles? And sure, they had Fallout 76 in there, I get that, but Starfield, as much as I thought the game was okay. I thought it was pretty good even. I liked it a lot more than a lot of people who just, completely hated the game. I didn't completely hate it, and I feel like initially I really, really liked Starfield, and then more I played it, it kind of lost me, and that seemed to be an opinion that a lot of people didn't hold, where Starfield, after you did the first playthrough, that's where people thought it got good, which I vehemently disagree with that, but nevertheless, I think it's a much ado about nothing. The Game of the Year contenders for this year, looking at it from an objective lens, again, games like Baldur's Gate 3 didn't click with me. Alan Wake 2, surprisingly, that was a shocker to me, but even playing that game, I was like, okay, yeah, this game deserves the rave reviews that it gets, but it just didn't resonate with me. But at the end of the day, I'm one person. I'm not gonna meticulously analyze why Alan Wake 2 didn't click with me. There were certain aspects I didn't love, but objectively, just assessing the game in totality, I can see why people loved it. Just didn't do it for me. But Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Street Fighter 6, Final Fantasy 16, just off the top of my head, some of those games that I really enjoyed, and they're nominated for other awards. Of course, FF16 is in there for Best Narrative, Best Soundtrack, things like that, but again, with the Game Awards, guys, take it with a grain of salt. It's not the end of the world. It's enjoy whatever the hell you enjoy. Enjoy games that are 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10s. I have a friend that thinks Atlas Fallen is one of the best games of the year. Don't ask me about that, but that is, great. More power to him, you know what I mean? But, yeah, that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, guys, I will catch you guys in the next one, and have a great one. Peace. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.